There is always something special happening in our communities, and Wish TV is committed to shining the spotlight on those who are making a difference. From the All Indiana Podcast Network and Wish TV, this is Behind the Eight with Wish TV's entertainment insider, McKinzie Roth.
I'm McKinzie Roth, entertainment insider here at Wish TV with a brand new Behind the Eight. And man, oh man, do I have a guest for you here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. He's the newest member of the Wish TV family. Please welcome Dr. Jerome Adams. Woo!
Wow. Well, it's really great to be here with you, McKinzie, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. I'm a little bit scared. But you know, I'm excited to be here too.
Well, we are thrilled to have you. Okay, first off, do we call you Doc? Do we call you Doc Adams? What do you prefer?
Well, I've been called all sorts of things over the last 4 years, many of them not so pleasant. But, most people just call me Dr. Adams because that's what they associate me with, being the nation's doctor, being the doctor of the state when I ran the Indiana State Department of Health. But what's interesting is when I was Surgeon General, I was actually a Vice Admiral.
Wow.
So I had to explain to people I'm the Surgeon General, but I'm neither a surgeon nor a general.
Which is wild. So break it down for us. Okay, you were 20th Surgeon General of the U.S. What exactly does that mean? Because you do say I'm neither of these things.
Well, the Surgeon General, number one, is the nation's doctor. You're in charge of communicating health information to the American people so they know what to be aware of, how to stay safe. And COVID is a glaring example of that. And we talk at Wish TV about what's going on, what you need to know, and then how you can stay safe. So that's one part of the job. But what people don't know is the Surgeon General is the operational head of the United States Public Health Service Commission Corps, which is one of the now 8 uniformed services. Most people know Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. Coast Guard is the Jeopardy question, but there are 3 more. There's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the Public Health Service, and the new Space Force. Wow. And the Surgeon General is the head of one of those uniformed services, which is why I had that snazzy uniform that I got to wear.
Yes, always looking so sharp. I have to admit, I was today years old when I learned all of these things. But this is like knowledge I can drop over the upcoming weekend and at parties and stuff. This is so cool. Did you feel the magnitude? I mean, did you feel the weight on your shoulders of being the nation's doctor?
Well, what was honestly, when you look at those dual roles, more intimidating was being the head of a uniformed service. Yeah. So I had 6,000 officers all over the country. I would go to military bases and they would roll out the red carpet. They would salute me. There's only about 100 vice admirals all over the entire country, or people who were at that level, that 3-star level. I remember being in Puerto Rico with the vice president. And what was interesting is the Air Force flies you around. And so they deferred to me more than they deferred to the vice president because of military protocol. And I'm walking in uniform with 3 stars on. And so that was something that was really just heavy and it took a while to get used to. But I love interacting with people, being out in public, helping people understand how to stay healthy. So that part came naturally.
Yeah. Had you take a moment ever, or is there a poignant moment when you think back that you just had almost like, this is my life, like this is where I am in my journey, and kind of just, blew your own mind for a moment?
Well, one of the sayings in these jobs is that the days are long, but the years are short. And I would always try to take a deep breath and pinch myself when I had those moments. And one of those moments that I will never forget, I have a picture of it on my phone. Bill Clinton and I are about to go on stage together. And I show Bill Clinton this picture, and this picture is of my daughter at the White House, passed out on a sofa that's 200 years old that should be in a museum, and she's laying underneath Bill Clinton's picture in the White House.
Millie is laying there. Okay.
Exactly. And
wow.
So, and that is a moment where you think about, okay, the opportunities your family had, the opportunity I had, and gosh, not only are you here with a president of the United States, but your daughter got to be in the White House. And what's funny is then we called up my wife, who, as you may know, was dealing with cancer at the time. Yeah. And I put Bill Clinton on the phone. We FaceTime her, and guys, never ever surprise your wife with a call from Bill Clinton. So
She's like, I'm not ready for this. I don't have my lip gloss is not on.
Well, she picks up the phone and she goes, what do you need? And I go, honey, I want you to talk to someone. And she looks at the phone and I hear her scream and then the phone goes flying across the room. And I hear her say, I'm sorry, I'm not in a state where I can talk to Bill Clinton right now. So Millie picks up the phone and starts making faces at Bill Clinton.
I bet he loved it. What did Bill do? How did he react?
Oh, he is giggling. You know, he was amazing. He really was. And that's something that I also think people don't appreciate is that you turn on the TV and it's Democrat versus Republican, it's conservative versus liberal. But when you meet these folks in person in D.C., they're very personable. Bill Clinton is a very friendly guy. Mike Pence is a very friendly guy. And there are people out there who think both of them are devils, depending on which side of the political aisle you're on. But I tell you, I'd love to have either one of them as my neighbor, and both of them treated me incredibly kindly.
I love that. And that's one of the themes that we've been also pushing here at Wish TV, that medicine is not political.
Exactly.
Your day moves fast. Your news should too. That's why there's a new and improved Wish TV app, bringing you more local news, breaking alerts, live streaming, weather forecasts, radar, and Indiana sports, all in one place. Customize your news feed to see the stories that matter most to you and get the information you need when you need it. Download the new and improved Wish TV app today on iOS or Android and take News 8 with you everywhere.
And so tell us a little bit about your journey from D.C. back to the homeland, which we're so proud to have you, Indiana.
Well, just really glad to be back here. What is fascinating is my kids, who are 17, 15, and 11, had never lived anywhere else in their life before we moved to Washington, D.C. We actually moved from one side of the street in Fishers to the other side of the street.
And that was the big move.
And that was the big move.
Yeah.
So they didn't change school districts, didn't change friends. And this was really a big deal to pick up my family and move them across the country to Washington, D.C. So, you know, they did okay. Kids are resilient. But the challenge was right about when they were getting into their groove, we said, okay, time to move back to Indiana.
Sure.
But Indiana was great. People here are just so kind, and people stayed connected with us when we were out there. They sent us, they really wrapped their arms around my wife when she was going through her cancer journey.
Yes.
Sent us meals. People came out to visit. And so when we came back, it was like we didn't miss a beat.
I love that. Let's talk about your beautiful wife, your better half, if you will, and let's talk a little bit about her journey.
Well, absolutely. So my wife was diagnosed with cancer about 9 years ago. Okay. She had a mole on her leg. She went in, got it checked out. They did surgery, and they thought they had clean margins, so they thought everything was fine. And the lesson there is, if you have something that looks suspicious, please go in and get it checked out.
You're speaking to me right now, because I'm like, I've been watching a little spot on my arm, and I'm like a freckly girl. You know, I'm like, okay, I got to get this checked out, but I'm not going to hesitate.
Exactly, the ABCDEs, and make sure you look those up. Make sure you understand risk factors for skin cancer, because it is very treatable if you catch it early. And unfortunately, in Indiana, where you've got people out in the farm who don't put on sunscreen, my wife was someone who loved the tanning bed. Those are people who are at risk.
Man, we look back to those high school days, getting ready for prom, and it was just like, if we knew then what we knew now, right?
Well, my wife's best friend had a tanning bed in her basement.
Sure,
and
a lot of people did.
We very much feel like that was a major part of what put her at risk for cancer. So we were fine for 7 years. And then my wife moved her and the kids, because I went out to D.C. a few months early, moved them to D.C. in January of 2018.
Okay.
And within about a month of being there, she noticed some swelling in her leg. And we went in to get it checked out, and it was a whirlwind. It was about 48-hour time frame from, I've got this swelling, can you check this out, to she's getting major surgery and starting major treatment for cancer. And so she had to get immunotherapy, which is a godsend. Really not as bad as side effects as chemotherapy. But the good news is that she's had negative CAT scans recently.
I'd love to hear that.
So knock on wood,
yes,
things are going well, and we're blessed, because one of the crazy things about being Surgeon General is you get to meet all kinds of people. And my wife, to her credit, was very open with her story because she wanted to help people in her situation understand there was treatment, and she wanted to prevent people from having problems down the road by telling people, hey, wear a hat, put on sunscreen, get your skin checked. And so she was a trooper absolutely throughout all of this, and I couldn't be more proud of her for the way she handled it. But I got to meet so many people who heard her story who didn't have the same outcome. I know there's at least 5 people I know who were diagnosed with the same thing she was after she was diagnosed and who aren't with us anymore.
Yeah.
And so, that's one of the humbling things about being Surgeon General. A big thing that really was a focus of mine was the opioid epidemic. Okay. And that was because of what we dealt with here in Indiana and Scott County. Right. Largest HIV outbreak related to injection drug use in the history of the United States. And so one of the first things I did as Surgeon General was put out a Surgeon General's advisory calling on more people to carry naloxone. Okay. So, again, just incredibly important that we think about those people who we met, the people who I met in Scott County, who are good people, who just couldn't find a job, who were depressed, who were frustrated, who were down, and who turned to opioids, and helped them understand, hey, someone here in D.C. cares about you, knows about you, and is trying to lower stigma and create a better world for you.
I love that so much. You're such an inspiration. Have you always had this passion for medicine, for helping mankind, for bettering people's lives?
Well, so it's interesting. It depends on which way I answer that question, because you asked it a couple of different ways. Both my parents were school teachers.
Okay.
And so I've always had a passion for teaching because my parents just naturally, everything was an educational opportunity. Going to the grocery store, well, my dad would give me the money and make me count out the change and give it to folks. Or, whatever you did. And it was annoying to me as a kid.
You're like, why is he doing this, Dad? Just do it. But now you're thankful, right?
Exactly. And so that's where the passion came from for me to help other people. But that said, I never dreamed of being a doctor, because where I grew up, and I grew up in a rural community in southern Maryland. Interestingly enough, Surgeon General, guy on the side of the cigarette box, saying don't smoke. And I grew up on an old tobacco farm.
How ironic is that? Wow.
Exactly. Irony. But I never met a black doctor until I got to college.
Really?
So I had good grades. My parents were teachers, but I never dreamed of being a doctor because I'd never seen another black doctor. Wow. And so, one of the things that's really humbling about being Surgeon General is being able to be a role model for little kids out there, to think about, I'm standing behind the podium with the President of the United States, the most powerful person in the world, on one side of me, and the Vice President on the other side. And there are little kids, black, brown, white kids, all rural kids who are looking at me and saying, oh my gosh, I have something in common with him.
Right.
I could be Surgeon General one day.
Exactly. He looks like me. I can do this, right?
Exactly.
And that's so inspiring. I remember I noticed you first, and I'm just going to be honest, because of your beaming white smile. I was like, who is that? Yes, because you just exude this radiance. And that's so important, because you're it makes sense your parents are both teachers, because you're a great storyteller, and you're just very engaging. So I love that.
Well, I love what I do. I believe that God doesn't always put you in a situation that's going to be comfortable, but I believe you're always put in a situation where you have the opportunity to be of service.
Absolutely.
And I feel extremely blessed to have been able to help lead the Indiana State Department of Health for almost 4 years, and to have been Surgeon General even at a trying time, because as trying as last year was, every single day I meet people who say, I listened to you. I heard what you were saying. I got vaccinated because you said so. Wow. I wore a mask because you said so. And that shows me that it was worth it.
Because of you. And I do believe he gives his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers.
Exactly.
And I really wholeheartedly believe that. Now, I know that you've been busy this morning. You got Newsmax, you got CNN. Can you dish a little bit about what you've been talking about as of late?
Well,
because you're a wealth of knowledge.
Absolutely. Well, the big news now is this Delta variant.
Yes.
And what I've been trying to help people understand is the virus is going to virus. Viruses mutate.
The virus is going to virus.
Exactly.
That's right.
We're going to continue to see mutations, and those mutations are the virus's offense. What we need to think about is our defense. And on the defensive side, we have masks, we have distancing from people, and that's any infectious disease, whether it's COVID, flu, what have you. There are certain protections that we can bring to bear. But we have vaccinations. We truly have a miracle. I don't think people understand that at this point last year, most doctors, scientists in the world were saying we were still 18 to 24 months away from having a vaccine.
Wow.
At this point last year. And so now we've got 3 highly effective vaccines. And if we can get enough people to take those vaccines, not only will we save lives, keep people out of the hospital, prevent healthcare systems and healthcare workers from being overburdened, but what I try to help people understand is that there are also social benefits. So your kids can go back to school without wearing a mask. And you heard Dr. Box from the State Department of Health today announce that schools could say it's okay not to wear a mask if you're vaccinated. Your child potentially won't have to quarantine if they're exposed to someone. So many people remember last year, even in school, that their kids got sent home because, hey, Johnny, who's their classmate, tested positive.
Right.
You were close. You've got to go home for 14 days. If you're vaccinated, you don't have to do that. We can stay open. We can continue to enjoy these increasing freedoms that people are seeing this summer, but only if we can get that herd immunity up to a high enough level to fight back against these variants. And so that's what I'm just sharing with people. And I'm also just trying to share with them a little bit of compassion because this is new.
Right.
We've all become experts in public health and epidemiology and infectious disease over the last year.
Yeah.
And there have been conflicting messages because the virus has changed how we react and what we know. So I don't shame anyone for having a question. I don't shame people for having a healthy degree of skepticism. But what I say to them is that I don't want misinformation to cause you to make a decision that is poor for your health. So please ask your questions, and then I try to encourage my colleagues to listen with compassion, to not shame, to not blame, and to understand that it took us 50 years to get seatbelt laws in our country. It took us another 50 years to get cigarettes off of airplanes. Things that now seem like, well, duh.
Unfathomable. Can you even imagine someone smoking on a plane, right?
So we should also understand that it's actually pretty darn amazing that we not only developed 3 highly safe and highly effective vaccines, but that we've gotten as many people vaccinated as we have. We need to build on that success, look at things more positively and not so negatively, and certainly not politically.
What do you say to someone that's just like, nah, doc, I don't want to do it?
I say, I completely understand, and that is your prerogative. I start off there because you have to, again, you can't say you're stupid, you're an idiot, and I say, so, what are your concerns about the vaccine? And that's fascinating because that's where your stereotype and your stigma comes into play, even as a doctor. The reasons that I might think that someone like you would be hesitant would be very different than the reasons that I might think someone who's Latino or someone who's African American might be Hispanic. But then you ask them, and in many cases, it's something as simple as, well, I heard that this can cause you to have fertility problems. Sure. Well, and that's a popular thing that has gone through. It is. And there's so many people I've talked to where I've explained to them, no, that's false. That's not true. And I was involved with the studies. We actually had several women who, in the studies, got pregnant during the studies, and they didn't have any fertility problems. Then I'd say to them, what will cause a fertility problem is if you get COVID. Right. You can't get pregnant if you're in the hospital or you're 6 feet under. That's a great point. And so, you listen to people's concerns. You open that door by being compassionate. You listen to their concerns. You share with them information, and then I'll say, but I completely understand where you're coming from. Can I follow up with you and give you some more information or direct you to another source of information? And sometimes it can take 2, 3, 4 different times of talking with someone. But I've had so many people who've after several weeks finally said, okay, I'm going to go and get that vaccine, but it's because you approach them with compassion.
Yes.
And not with conflict.
And with knowledge, and you answered their questions.
Exactly.
Now, what do you say about, there's lots of talk about the boosters. Can we go there? Can we talk a little bit about, are we going to need a booster shot? What's the latest?
Well, that's the hot news of today.
Yes.
And what I want people to know is just as viruses are going to virus, we're going to see people's antibodies wane over time. That happens for every single vaccine that we give people. Over time, your antibody response tends to wane a little bit. And so we're going to have to follow that. And the Pfizer data suggests that after about 8 months, they're starting to see antibodies decrease, certainly in older people. And so they're preparing for that with the knowledge that when wintertime comes, you want grandma and grandpa to be safe. And they were the first ones to get vaccinated. So they're the ones who were the furthest out from that initial vaccine dose. So that's number one. They're looking at where the hockey puck is going, and they want to be prepared for that.
You're staying ahead of the game.
Exactly.
Right.
What the FDA and CDC are telling you is not in conflict. They're saying this is where the hockey puck is right now. Mm-hmm. We have vaccines right now that are highly effective right now, and the best thing that we can do is get as many people as possible vaccinated, because guess what? If we can get everyone vaccinated and put this virus to rest for good, we may not need a booster in November, December.
Right.
And so that's what we're hoping for. These two things are not actually in conflict, even though they weren't communicated well. They're actually saying right now, get the vaccine. It is your number one defense. But it's also smart for us to prepare for what could be needed in the future.
Now, when you're like at Target or you're like at the grocery store, do people stop you and ask you these kind of questions? Like, I mean, do you get stopped all the time and people ask you medical questions?
What is funny is in Washington, D.C. is a very political city.
Yes.
And so in D.C., I get recognized all the time when I'm there. And I also didn't have a beard. So folks can't see on the podcast now. I've got a full beard with a little salt and pepper gray in it.
I am digging the beard. You need to leave this look. I love it.
And so without the beard and in D.C., get recognized instantly.
Sure.
Out here in Indiana, not so much. But I do occasionally have, and what's funny is people will look at me and they won't place me.
They're like, I know that guy.
Exactly.
I know that guy.
And people
right?
come up and go, hey, do I know you? And I go, I don't know, do you?
I love it so much. What do you do for fun? I mean, because you have such an intense job, but what do you do? You've held many intense jobs. What do you do to like lighten up and have a good time?
Well, what's interesting is it changes as you get older. And you and I were talking about our kids earlier.
Absolutely.
So again, I have 17 and 15-year-old boys and an 11-year-old girl. And oh my gosh, when you talk about the days are long, but the years are short, that's true for parenting.
That really hit home for me when you said that.
And my kids went from thinking dad was the center of the universe to dad, you're so embarrassing.
Or my daughter says, oh, Mom, that's so cringy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right?
And so what I try to do for fun is anything that my kids will do willingly with me.
I love
Whether
that.
that's going out to get ice cream or, we were out on Geist just a few days ago surfing, and I am terrible at that. I'm an adult. I didn't learn how to swim until I was almost 40.
Oh, wow.
So it is terrifying to me to be out in that water.
Hey, I'm proud of you for being out there.
Yeah. But if my kids say, hey, let's go out there, that's something I can do with my kids. I take them with me, anywhere they'll want to go. My dad used to do that with me. Mm-hmm. Used to just take me along with him. So even when I go and give talks as Surgeon General or as a former Surgeon General now, I'll ask a kid if you want to go. And so I have to bribe them sometimes. I had one in Orlando, and I told my one kid, I'll take you to Universal Studios if you come with me on my talk. But, I had my little buddy with me the whole time.
I love that. I love that so much. And what's on your bucket list? What are a few things that you still want to accomplish? You've accomplished so much, but you're still so young. So what else does Doc want to do in his lifetime?
Well, I'll say something that may sound odd, but it's very honest. One of the things that I really want to do is leave some financial security for my kids and my family.
Sure.
And so people don't understand the price that public servants pay. And I took a 75% pay cut to be Surgeon General of the United States. And I'm not asking anyone to feel like poor me, but
people don't realize that.
Exactly.
They
and
don't.
That's money that wasn't going into my kids' college funds. That's money that I wasn't putting away in my 401k so that my wife and I could retire a year or 2 or 3 or 4 sooner. And so one of the things that I'm trying to do is make sure we can get the kids ready for college.
Yep.
You know, that's on my
and you got 3 of them. So exactly. So that's on the bucket list plan. And it's the other thing I'm trying to do is just figure out areas where I can continue to have a unique impact on health. And I found that there's not a lot of room for someone who wants to be in the middle, who doesn't want to be partisan. Right.
I'll tell you a really quick funny story. I was in Switzerland and I had to give a talk on the U.S. healthcare system.
Okay.
And this is the story I told people. I told them that when you look at Paris, France, and Berlin, Germany, these are 2 cities in 2 different countries. They speak 2 different languages. And during our last Great World War, they literally tried to obliterate each other off the planet.
Right.
That's how far apart they are. They don't speak the same language, and if either one had their way, the other one would not be here
would
right
not
now.
exist, yes.
But when you look at medical issues like women's health, like drug policy, like vaccinations, like how we feel about firearm safety, these 2 places are more aligned on these medical issues than Boston, Massachusetts, and Dallas, Texas.
That's incredible.
And so, we've can't think of the better. I was going to say for better or worse, but I can't think of the for better. We've politicized and made binary a lot of these incredibly complex health issues. And what I really want to do is try to help people understand that no matter which side of the political aisle you're on, we all just want to leave a world for our kids that's better than the world that was left for us.
That's right.
And there's ways to do that. There's ways to do that if we come together. And we're trying to do that with COVID, and it's happening. You're seeing more and more people getting vaccinated. You're seeing more and more people rally around the virus as the enemy versus each other as the enemy.
I love that commonality. And to wrap up here, I want to know, what will your role, where will everyone get to see you all the time here on Wish TV?
Well, one of the places you'll see me is at the Black Expo Minority Health Fair next week. I believe it's the 16th, 17th, and 18th. And I want people to know this is one of the largest opportunities, not just in the state, but in the region, for people to come in and get cancer screenings. There'll be vaccinations, so people can catch up on the vaccinations they missed over the year. There'll be COVID vaccinations in addition to measles and HPV vaccinations and the like. There'll be diabetes screenings and hypertension screenings. So I hope that people will come by. I'll be there. I'll be giving a talk. We'll probably do an interview there. But hopefully we can save some lives.
Absolutely. And this is a fun fact I learned about Doc Adams. He loves selfies.
I do. I do.
So don't hold back. And you're good at them too. Hey, I really appreciate you taking the time. And I'm thrilled to have you on board here.
No, thank you so much. And again, probably my favorite selfie is the selfie of Bill Clinton and I that we got on the stage. And it's funny. There's probably about 5,000 people in this audience. And Bill Clinton and I are up on stage together. And we're leaning back and doing a selfie. And I felt like Ellen. You know that one when she did the selfie and it broke the internet?
Yes. Okay, well, we have to see the selfie of you and Clinton, because we talked about it all the time. Oh man, you are so much fun. I just feel blessed that you took the time and we get to hang out now. Now you're part of the team. So
absolutely. Well, and it's been a pleasure being part of Wish TV. I just want to finish by saying there are many different opportunities I had, but Wish TV certainly I think encapsulates that feeling that I have of community and of not taking a side, but really just giving people the information that they need. And I just really appreciate that about you too, that's your approach. People shouldn't look at you and go, oh, he or she is a Republican or a Democrat. They should look at you and go, oh, they're a human being and they're a pretty cool person. And I want to hear what they have to say.
I was just like, I love that dude. And I was happy that you're on board. You probably don't hear that often, but literally when I heard the news, that is exactly what I said.
Well, the feeling is mutual. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. This has been an all-new episode of Behind the Eight right here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. I am McKinzie Roth. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, bye-bye.
From the All All Indiana Podcast Network and Wish TV. This is Behind the Eight with Wish TV's entertainment insider McKinzie Rock. Follow and subscribe to this podcast and discover even more great podcasts now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.